Okay, here we go.
Got it?
Audio is working.
How do I sound? Can you hear me at all?
Um,
Am I too far away?
Hold on one second. Yeah, you sound very far away. Just maybe stop eating for a second and come scoot in a little closer to me.
I'm not so good at that.
Okay. All right. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
You'll have to let us know if you can hear Sebastian okay in the microphone here.
I only got one mic.
All right. Hello and welcome. I am Natalie. This is Sebastian. We are the two owners of Gubhead Studios. We are finally back. This is our first stream in about a year. And it'll be the stream to help us explain why we have gotten very, very little done publicly in the last year. Oh, thank you, Oz. Let's see if this is a bit better for people now.
Okay. Is O's here as well?
Yeah, he's in the chat here.
Oh, good.
Okay, so just first off, we do have a lot of new people, so there's a couple of things I want to go through first. Kind of bring people up to speed that are just joining us or just seeing us for the first time on what to expect from this project. So to start, a little bit of the themes of the game, the lore of the game, things like that. So you are essentially playing as one of three playable creatures, and you are to explore the landscape, eating, drinking, surviving, growing. But there are certain features that make growing not just the only thing. Survival isn't just a chore. Growing isn't just high risk, low reward. There are certain things that will roguelike elements that will carry over between your playthroughs and everything. So as you grow, you pick different skills and invest, basically experience into different trees, which will not only change the way that your character is spec'd, but it'll change the way your character looks over time as well. It will kind of morph to the adaptations that you're selecting for it. And then once you're grown enough, you're matured enough on that creature, you gain the ability to select from a tree of set number of trees of magic, and that will unlock new combat abilities and utility abilities for you to use while you explore the landscape. All three creatures in the game will have the ability to fly to some degree at varying stages in their life cycles, and there is a large focus on freedom in Eidols. So you'll be able to fly around and explore freely. You'll be able to choose whether you're an omnivore, carnivore, herbivore freely, and your character will adapt to that, the lifestyle that you pick over time. Things like that. Each biome, there are 7 biomes currently planned, and each biome has specific features, foods available, different sort of things happening in that biome that you can either be affected by or use to affect other players that choose to traverse those areas. And then we also have seeing our pictures, obviously you probably know that we have a big focus on bioluminescence. Everything in the world at night emits light to some degree. Everything that's alive on the map at night, plants, everything will emit bioluminescence. So it sort of gets rid of the need for like a night vision mechanic, but it also makes it, nighttime is essentially a new world. We can lead you to, special secrets or areas. We can leave hints for you in important lore-based areas. You'll be able to tell different things about the creatures that you're looking at visually. So when you see another AI or another player, we want you to be able to look at that creature and with as little UI or HUD elements as possible, be able to tell as much about that player as you can. So, your skill morphs will change the way you look. Your magic will have certain effects when you're using it that are visible. So a player will be able to look at you and say, oh, this person has, spec for speed, and I'm spec for defense, so I should be able to take them on. Different things like that that'll help you tell or gauge, and a lot of that will have to do with the bioluminescence on the characters themselves. So yeah, special attacks. We'll have a fairly robust combat system. Melee combat consists of a few different combos, and then range combat you'll be using mostly your magic skills for. So just to kind of get everybody up to speed and have a full rundown of what to expect from the game right off the bat. All right, we've got a few people here.
Who got some questions?
Oh yeah, I should change the picture. There we go. Oh. Okay, so, still pretty quiet. Let me see if I can turn up a little bit. We'll see if that's a little bit better. I am a little bit sick too, so I'm not, excuse me, I'm not talking super loud as usual. Usually I'm a little too loud. Keep bumping you in the face with the mic here. Alright, so since we don't have any questions in chat yet, I'll go through a couple of questions that are asked pretty frequently. Let's see here. And then I'll get into the meat and potatoes, so to speak. I feel like I actually covered quite a bit of it.
Yeah, you definitely covered the basics pretty well.
Yeah, a lot of this is like which creature is fastest, how does this creature eat, and then some neat ideas and suggestions. Thank you, insert name here. I'm glad you found us. He said, sounds pretty neat. I only recently learned of this, but looking forward to it. Okay. Well, I'll wait for some questions to roll in, because I think we've got most of the bases covered in the general summary here. So to talk a little bit about the history of Eidols for the past year, late last year we did a crowdfunding campaign, and we made somewhere about $4,000. We used a large chunk of that to pay off some of the work that we had in the works, and then a little bit to get some more work done over the coming couple of months. It did run out pretty quickly. I'm sure, we have a pretty up to speed and experienced community. For most of them, we aren't the first game that they've tried to follow the development of, so I think it was, kind of to be expected. When we ran out of money, things started moving very slowly. Sebastian and I got very sick at one point, and with COVID, and we were living in a house with, we were living with 5 roommates at one point. So, the house was paid for, the game was paid for, our bills were paid for. Unfortunately, because of COVID hitting and a couple of other circumstances, we lost a number of our roommates. We ended up with only one roommate, and that cut very deeply into our income. So things slowed down quite a bit. Just to kind of clear something up, when we have zero money, there is not necessarily zero happening on the game. A lot of, as many of you know, many of the people on our team do work, voluntarily when necessary, and have stuck with us and been, phenomenal bridges for times when we can't afford to have a full workload or task list on everybody. So there were things getting done. We got a couple of models, redone. Some of our patrons probably saw the Maw-Wing remodel. We were able to tweak quite a bit, make it look a little bit more natural. Things like that. Small improvements that are being made pretty consistently. It's just the meat of getting, an update out that is very, very difficult without essentially a crunch. And in order to crunch people, it's really only right if we crunch people when we can pay them. So, so things went pretty slowly, and I think part of me wanted to be more open and upfront. I don't think I necessarily misled anybody during this last year, just, kind of telling them about the little things that are getting done, some of the issues that we're having. But I kind of woke up one day after kind of struggling to get everything back under control and like financially, and then kind of just woke up and realized, oh my god, it's been almost a year, and we haven't updated. So that's where we were at currently. The place that we were living was pretty expensive, and although technically we had funds extra with that many roommates, so we could channel into the game development. Without the roommates, it just became a huge hassle to keep. So we are selling the property, and that's going very well so far. I will keep you guys up to speed when things are a little bit more solid on that.
Mm-hmm.
But the good news is the majority of our expenses that we had, as assuming we had 5 people to help us pay those expenses, are now gone. And over the next couple of months, things will start to go back to normal for Eidols. You'll see a normal level or speed of progress and development again.
Mm-hmm.
And we do still intend to try and meet a December-January deadline for an early access release, which we should have the means to do. Of course, any kind of timeline you guys already know is going to be tentative, and I'll stay honest with you about if it changes, but we have so much done already, like, models, textures, things like that I think once we have a really good, juicy, meaty, like ketchup, mayo, mustard, lettuce, fresh tomatoes map, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be so much easier. There are things that were just totally janky in the demo, and a lot of the work that would have to have been done would have been us fixing the demo map itself, which really wasn't worth it. So it ended up being a pretty big trade-off for us of the demo that we used during our campaign. So we'll have a good map. Oz is going to be working on that for us over the next few months. Oz, if you're in here, just a heads up. We're going to be working on the map together, and we'll get basic ground movement for all 3 playables implemented pretty shortly after. And then I will have some little surprises. Well, one big surprise to announce to you guys shortly thereafter. That is essentially a 4th playable. And I can't say anything else about it yet.
Yeah, we'll see. I think we'll have a few surprises other than that.
Yeah,
one
we'll
too,
have a couple
actually.
surprises for
We're
sure.
gonna I think this first little return update, whenever it does drop, I don't want to. I'm not going to speculate on when that will be. Sometime after the property sells, will probably be a pretty juicy one. We'll probably try to pack as much in there as we can for y'all, since it's been so long.
Especially.
It's only right.
Nice. Okay, so hope you and Sebi are doing well. Eve wishes us well.
No, thank you, Eve.
Kansei, you have not missed much. Well, actually, you missed everything so far, but it's okay. The video will be up on our channel for viewing after the fact as well. So don't worry if you missed something. You can go back and skip around. But basically, in the very beginning, we did a sort of a summary of Eidols in general, and then just now we kind of brought everybody up to speed on the pause that we've kind of been on for the last year. We've only been working on small things on the back end. And a lot of the more public, bigger things have been unattainable financially for a while, and that is now coming to an end, thankfully. So that's where we're at, kind of trying to brief everybody, basically, on... Okay, hello. Sebastian's hair is stuck on me. Alright, so give me a second to go through a couple of the comments so far and see if we have any questions. Huh? Is it...
Let's go out.
He thinks people are here. We're talking.
No, I think he needs to go out.
Alright, well, you want to take him out for a second? I'll go through some questions.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay, I gotta look for questions. I don't know. There's only a few people, so there might not be any yet. Okay. Meat. Yeah, it makes Eve says makes me happy to see activity from y'all again. It's been quiet so long, I was getting worried. Yeah, that's another reason that I was really kind of like opposed to it. Like Sebastian and other people on the team would be like, just tell them that like things are tough right now, but you know you're gonna get through it, and you still don't plan on abandoning the project or anything, God forbid. And I was like, no, no, if we tell them things have stopped, they'll all leave. It's just like, no, you don't understand. Every game ever stops working and then like they just disappear one day. I don't want people to think we're gonna disappear. It's like super paranoia, but they were right, honestly. I feel like if I had told you guys a little bit, I also didn't want to come off as like when I talk about financial stuff, I worry that it's like sounds like a cry for help or like begging basically, because I don't want to be like, hey guys, nothing's gonna happen over the next month while we catch up on this, you know, such and such payment or something, because then people will feel like, oh, if I just give you some money, then things will happen more quickly. And while that might be true, that's really like not the way that I want to do things. Like most of the people watching right now are people that have been following us for a while, and take it from them how long it took me to be basically convinced to run the crowdfunding campaign when we did. Because if it were up to me, we still wouldn't have run it. I still wouldn't have thought we were ready or anything. But nothing would have happened for a very long time if we hadn't. So I see. Is it going to be a solo focused game or have some PvP? So you'll basically be on servers similar to games like, you know, other animal survival games or games like Ark or you know, you'll have a list of servers, officials and community servers to pick from. The game itself, the mechanics, we are really going to try and incentivize you working together with other players on the server and AI. Things are going to happen on each server, well, on official servers at least, that are sort of lore based. Things can, you know, happen to the environment or change in the environment or be unleashed upon the environment. So there will be a lot of things to incentivize you to work together with people. A lot of the roguelike elements that come into play are actually based on a sort of karma system. Like if you're, you know, when you die, you're basically judged and granted buffs or debuffs based on how you played and how this thing that's watching you, you know, live your life likes you or not. So if you're running around and like genociding babies and making everybody have a not great time, unleashing monstrosities onto the map to wreak general havoc, she's probably, you know, whoever's watching you is probably not going to like that very much and give you a bunch of debuffs to make your next life cycle really hard. But if you're, you know, like living around babies and they all make it to adulthood, or you're, you know, protecting people or teaching people mechanics of the game or things like that, you're going to be well loved in the eyes of this greater judging force. And you get a lot of buffs. Some buffs that she grants are permanent forever. So when you do certain, let's say like main story beat achievements, when that creature dies, you'll get buffs that are now active on you forever. That'll carry over to every creature you make, not just the next one. So there will be PvP. You will have the option to PvP with people, and there will be some mechanics that sort of require or focus more on PvP. There will be a lot of balance PvP-wise in mind as we develop. It's just not going to be, like, if you just want to mindlessly kill people, go to a deathmatch server, of which I'm sure there will be at least one, because I will want one. Let's see. How many playable characters are you planning to have? Thought I'd ask a question for everyone. Yeah, thank you, Dimple. So right now there are 3 playable creatures that are publicly announced. The Vendigo, the Mawwing, and the Mantis Fin. Vendigo is like a snake dog. Mawwing is like a seahorse, deer, dragon, nightmare monster. And the Mantis Fin is basically like a sky whale. or like a sky mosa kind of thing.
You know, the 3 food groups.
Yeah, you got your 3 basic food groups. And then there is, I am comfortable saying at this point that there are plans for a 4th playable, and that will be announced very soon, the nature of that playable. It will change the nature of how you play the game, should you play as that playable. Or should you interact as that playable with other players. It will be a very different experience from the main 3. So the game will have PvP, 3 characters to play as. Currently, by the time we get to early access, probably 4. We're thinking we can do the 4th one pretty easily. Yes, and then, so the next thing I want to talk about, the Council of Devs, you all probably saw us make an announcement recently about. So, I am super excited. I cannot tell you guys how happy I am being invited to, like, a coalition like this. Basically, the Council of Devs is a few smaller indie dragon animal survival game projects putting down the hammers and saying, okay, let's all shake hands, work together, share, whatever knowledge and resources we can between each other. Not only will we all get to release more quickly, more efficiently, but we can connect with each other on things that maybe people don't realize smaller projects would benefit from staying connected on. And something already happened just in the first week that the council existed, and it's been an incredible experience already, watching everybody in there come together and help each other. And this is exactly what I wish all of these smaller projects would do. If we could all just, put down the rapiers, stop jousting each other and our communities jousting each other, and just be like, the more of us that exist, the happier all the players in this audience will be. You'll have more variety, you'll have, projects going through development more efficiently. It will just all around be better for everybody. And on a more personal note, I'm not sure if I should say this, but I am so tired. I am so tired of people in every single one of these communities being like, I have beef with these people from this game, and now they work at this other game, and I have beef with this guy bullied me once in their Discord, and I don't want to be around anyway. It's just like, I am so tired. Like, all of us should just be trying to give you a product that you will buy and enjoy, and that's it. And I think the council is one step closer to all of us just shaking hands and agreeing that the goal here is to make you video games.
Oh yeah, that's what this was about. I forgot.
Alright, let's see how this council has the bigger survival game community it was built. So yeah, to answer Dimple's question here, is there still a chance for 7 playables? Yes. We're obviously not gonna sit here after being on break for basically a year and be like, oh yeah, throw them all in there. We got them all. 100 playables.
Well.
But yes, we do still fully intend to add playables as we develop the game. And if we are able to meet our early access goal with at least the first 3 playables, the original 3, great. If we make it with 4, that's an even better sign.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we would love to add more. I have lots of designs for new playables and other fun, creatures that you can play as in the game, with interesting powers and, completely different play styles from the ones that are already on here. We just need to, have money for those, because they're expensive to make.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like adding another player to, a normal game either, because they will all have completely different, body shapes and other weird appendages, and it's difficult to manage.
Yeah. I started doing, just as a side funny, I started doing work on Fiverr recently to bring in some extra money and get some extra practice animating. And because I learned animating with these eldritch monstrosities instead of how most people learn animating, apparently animating humans is just super easy now. I learned the hard way. I got a commission for my first human animation, and I sent him a first draft, and it was my first order on Fiverr, so he had no reason to give me the benefit of the doubt. And I sent it to him, and he was just like, "Wow, these are all right." I had like 9 revisions listed, and he was just like, "Thanks." Left me 5 stars. I was like, "Yes, all right then. That was easy, I guess." But yeah, things like Pompo, whose body, can move omnidirectionally, and his anatomy makes sense no matter what direction he's moving in, and he flips his head, tail, mouth, throat, stinger upside down, and Tryptonite has, 4 human arms with very detailed fingers, and Night Hag has all these worms coming out of her, and yeah, animating is I'm glad that I like animating so much, because Sebastian made it.
I made it as hard as humanly possible. As hard as inhumanly possible, actually.
Let's see here. You're an indie company, it's only natural. Most people start worrying when progress isn't shown, hence why I was getting worried from the extended silence. Yeah, that's another problem that I had. I was like debating, okay, well, we haven't shown anything in 2 months. Do I show off this very basic Mawwing remodel, or there's like a worry in the back of my head of like, okay, if I show off this, then I think people will be like, what you showed us nothing for 2 months and now just this? What have you been doing? Let's see. How many people can be on a server? We're shooting for 100 playables on a server at one time. There's going to be loads of AI on every server, but 100 players is probably the maximum that we could do. We don't we want encountering AI to be more prevalent than encountering other players, because when you encounter other players, there's decisions need to be made right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it will be kind of a lonesome life until you find it. Obviously there's going to be spots on the server with like hangouts and chill out in mind, like people can convene and all nest and everything. The map isn't going to be ginormous. We're going to try and very carefully design the size of the map and the speed at which you can traverse and fly and explore and things like that, to make it feel very vast, but we don't want it to be so big that we can't fill every spot of it up with something on the map. You know what I mean? I don't want there to be giant empty spaces with no landmarks or anything, and plus, all of the lore and events and everything are going to be sort of hidden, strewn around the map, so it will need to be dense enough that, like, as soon as you come across a landmark, just like, oh, there's the next story part, you know what I mean? Can we switch playables between life cycles, and do buffs and debuffs carry over if we do? Yes, so this is a really good question. We are still trying to figure out what will work best if you get buffs that affect, like, let's say you get a bunch of death buffs as a Vendigo. Do those death buffs now carry over to the next playable? Like, if you choose a Mawwing next time? I'm leaning towards yes, because I like the idea of people who play the game a lot just being completely overpowered, aware enough of meta that they're helping other people out, protecting the server, things like that. And it will also be balanced by the fact that the servers can be wiped by lore happenings. Like, things can happen to you in the game that will cause everybody to lose their progress minus their death buffs on a server. So, like, things can come and destroy your world, basically. So that the thing carrying out these experiments and observations has to, like, start over. So you can switch between playables freely, each life cycle. I'm thinking of maybe giving people like 3 slots on a server so that you can save a creature and load it up later, things like that. But we might not go that route because we really want the creature that you're actively playing as to be the focus, and we don't necessarily want you to keep that creature alive forever. You're missing out on core gameplay mechanics if you just try to survive and be alive as long as possible. But yeah, I think we may end up just having your death buffs carry over to all 3 playables and balancing it that way.
Yeah, little death achievements.
Yeah. Venom Pupper is best boy. Agreed. Okay, let's see where we at. No Kieran yet. No, there is a sky leopard seal. Okay, that would be awesome. I did have an idea for like a sky leopard seal ferret river otter kind of thing. Or river otters are the really... Yeah, sea otters are the cute ones. The river otters are the really...
They're the murder ones.
Screwy ones. Yeah, I like them. So yeah, definitely some long body, fluffy...
With 8 limbs.
Yeah, something to make my life hell in the animation. How much variety is there in creature appearances based on the 3 skill trees? Will everyone look the same if they pick the same tree? You'll be able to mix and match skills. Similar to like Beast of Bermuda, you can kind of mix and match different skills. Although I think in Beast of Bermuda you have to, like, certain skills require you to unlock the skills before it, which makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
We did have some concepts for some of the morphs released a while back, but we are probably going to have to dial it back quite a bit so that the features are a little bit more subtle, just because it gets really difficult changing the way a model looks that drastically.
Yeah, I got a little crazy.
Mm-hmm. As you do, usually.
Yeah.
So there will be enough... As far as colors, your colors are... Like, the colors of your patterns or your bioluminescence, things like that, are basically created based on the foods that you're eating and stuff. So you're making those chemicals based on what matter you're taking in. So you'll have a lot of customization as far as, like, your skin will change based on what area you live in. Your colors will change based on your eating. Your magic will be different. So, while you're using your magic, you'll glow the color that represents the magic tree that you have selected. The morphs themselves are gonna need a little bit more work, but it'll be based on pretty simple things, like in nature. Like, obviously things that are faster are a little bit leaner, or they have, some extra, let's say, feathers or fins or wings or things like that would go into, like, the mobility tree. And then things that have, antlers or spikes or, turtle shell armor, things like that, those would go into the defensive tree. And then, really screwed up mouth, claws,
I think a while
more
ago...
powerful venom, that would be predatory.
I think a while ago we were planning on having a different, like, morph for each possible combination of them as well, which is probably something we're not going to end up doing. Or I don't know, we might have to dial that part back because, like, we had so many variations. I don't know if it's going to...
Yeah, I reckon our eyes were a bit bigger than our stomach in that.
Yeah, that would have been cool, but I don't think we're going to be able to do that.
Let's see. So there will be enough variety that it will be very rare to come across a creature that looks exactly the same as you, but there will not be so much variety that there will still be enough of a baseline that you can look at a playable, like, in the world, encounter another player, and look at their body and say, oh, okay, they have this, this, and this selected.
Yeah.
I wonder if this 4th playable is... Gebs, say hi. Yeah, Gelbo. Gilbo says hi, everybody. Sorry.
Yeah, Gilbert's saying hi to the chat.
Hey, silent. Yeah, got your toy. Good boy. Good job. Sorry, everybody. I wonder if this 4th playable is based around rewarding bad karma compared to the normal 3, which, like, good karma. The 4th playable might not receive karma.
Yeah, I don't know. They might be exempt from that.
Yeah, just because of their lore, they might be something else.
Oh, that is an interesting idea.
Yeah.
It sounds familiar.
So O says how many people play on the server. Yeah, between 50 and 100. If we really have to knock the player number down to keep things really working well, that's just a sacrifice that you guys got to know right now we're going to make. If there's 100 people on the server and it's laggy and, ragdoll and dead bodies and things like that are messing things up, I'm not going to hesitate to lower the player count on the servers. And with the help of communities, that run their own servers, it's quite possible we could end up bringing that number back over time. But in the beginning especially, the focus will be on how many can we fit before things start breaking.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I too am tired of beef. If I wanted to be offended all the time, I'd be a feminist. Okay. Oh my God, Eve. Let's see. Dimple says, will there be a big test session, and if so, is there time scale for this, as work seems to be jump-started again? There will likely be a lot of testing going on from, like, the end of September into December. You know me, it's probably going to be kind of random, but I will at least try to give you guys, a little bit of notice. We'll do some key giveaways so we have, a decent population in testing. And I will try to keep things on the weekends as well, so I know that's usually best for people's schedules. Let's see here. Is the server still up? I honestly thought it was down. The server is still active, but it is not accessible right now for gameplay. We still have it, we still pay for it, it's still up, but it is not active for gameplay right now. Well, oh, yeah, it was answered. Currently off, but when we make the progress, we reopen again. Yeah, we're gonna we're gonna reopen it for our, it'll be open again for our next big update. Has there been any progression on the boss, which had art made for it a while back? We haven't worked on it at all, but that is pretty much on the first, there's a list of things that we want modeled now that we're back in business, and the Archon, the Ephamorph, and one other thing are pretty high on the list. I think the Mosquito Vultures or something. Mosquito Man?
Oh, yeah. Mosquito Man. Everyone's going to hate Mosquito Man.
Yeah, I can't wait.
But no, I'm very excited for that design, that Archon. I assume you're talking about the eel-faced one.
Yeah.
He'll. I'm excited for him to be modeled, and that's probably one of the first ones. I don't know if he'll be coming out in that first juicy patch that I mentioned earlier, but
we'll definitely end up testing with him, and
we'll definitely show you some progress at least, if like how is the models coming along, and then we'll
that model is gonna be insane. There's pieces of it that deflate into and implode into themselves like a
he unfurls.
Yeah.
Oh.
Let's see here.
And parts of him have to disappear too. It's gonna be a mess. I'm sorry.
Alien says, imagine the fourth playable being a parasite. So we hinted at a parasitic playable.
I was about to say, how did people...
We hinted about it in one of the last dev streams. We got really excited and told people about it.
We spilled our beans, Jack.
Yeah, but
comes out though, so, and probably it will not suffer debuffs for being a bad person, because it's its job. If we do make a parasite. That'll be the griefer.
Oh, I have loading signal.
Oh no.
Can you guys still hear us?
Did we disappear? Uh-oh.
Give it a second. It might just be on our end.
Why did we do this in the basement?
So they said we cut out for a second, but they can still hear us. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Let's see here.
That's probably good. I was talking about, stuff I shouldn't be. Like usual.
Okay, I know you said before that there will be layers of the world, unless that has changed, but do we have an estimate for how big the world is, maybe compared to other games? It's hard to say, since we don't have the size picked for our main map yet. Main map work is going to start this month. It's really hard to say, because it's hard for me to picture the scale between other games.
Yeah.
We want it to feel enormous.
Right.
But we want it to be a manageable enough size that you still encounter other players if there's 99 other people on the server.
Yeah.
And so that you aren't just like walking through a void with trees and bushes.
I think that's the most important thing. We want there to be a lot of
memorable
landmarks.
Yeah.
A lot of just, interesting things and sights happening or to see.
Yeah, and to speak on your question, Dimple, there are, yes, layers to the world. So the first layer is obviously the earth, the dirt. And then one layer up, there are these sort of like Pandora-esque floating mountains and shrapnel of old structures that are suspended in the landscape. And then further above that, it's mystery world that isn't done being designed, and you don't know anything about it yet. But yeah, so for the size of the map, there will be a second and third map basically above it, and as you grow and get stronger and healthier and things like that, you are able to fly and traverse more difficult to access areas, and that's sort of how we'll have the player progression split up between people. And there will be ways for you also to like take players that are much weaker than you to those places if you're strong enough to get to them. So it won't be like completely off limits to people who are weaker, but the priority will basically be like, oh, I can fly for this long now. I'm gonna go across this ravine and go, fly up into those clouds and see what's going on over there. Things like that, where there will basically be places that you can access now that you are strong enough.
Yeah.
Let's see. The ability to roll like Sonic. Not,
I don't remember.
Not quite. Give the puppers some chili dogs, too, while you're at it. Yep. Eve says they remember the morphs. Vendigo morphs were really good. Yeah, those Vendi morphs, I'm going to be so sad simplifying those. As long as I can still make my Venom Pupper feathered, I'm fine with the morphs being dialed down. Alright, I'll keep that in mind. Will we see skill tree concepts for the Mawing and Mantis Fin? Yeah, they're going to be pretty similar to Vendigo in design. Once we dial back the Vendigo ones and figure out what's realistic for the changes on the model, we'll have a much clearer guideline, for how we can do the other two. But the designs will stay pretty related, like relative between Vendigo. If he has the feathers, it means the same thing for the Mawing getting extra feathers or the Mantis Fin extra feathers. That way, no matter what playable you come across, you can still gauge what their build is, even if you're like a Vendigo main or something like that. You know what I mean? But yeah, you will see them sooner than later. Once you'll see Vendigo's dialed back versions first. Will death buffs affect appearance too, or you just never know if the person you're staring at secretly has plot armor? Yeah, so that's one thing that like we just had to leave the way it is. No, you will have zero idea looking at a person, how long they've been playing Eidols, how many death buffs they have. You will have zero idea. So, I like this because I like the idea of somebody attacking a baby, but that baby is secretly like the tiny gun from Men in Black.
I don't think it'll be quite that extreme.
Come on.
I don't know. I mean, there'll be a version of that in the game, but it won't be quite that extreme attacking a baby if you're fully grown, even if they have a million death buffs.
Originally, we had this idea that one of the death buffs that would build over time is being able to access your magic or pick your magic sooner in your life cycle. So eventually, somebody's just got like 2,000 hours in the game, and as soon as they spawn, they're just like a little laser pistol or like a little biomancy monster just looks at you and you implode. You know?
Oh no! You turn into horrible inside-out spider creatures.
What I'm wondering is if we will have species unique trees and shared magic trees. The skill trees will definitely be... there will be a lot of overlap, but certain things will probably have to be slightly different between the playables just to be balanced.
Like unique things special for them.
Yeah, well, like, so they'll have... each playable has unique, like, abilities already. Like, the Vendigo has his Venom, the Maulwing will have, you know, some kind of telekinesis thing, trick people, illusions.
There's illusions.
Yeah, and Mantis Fin is, like, a super healer. And a bus that can carry smaller things around.
Can trade better than the other two.
Yeah. So they won't necessarily be different. The skill trees themselves won't necessarily be different between the playables, but each playable has like certain racial abilities, basically. And they will probably react differently or like co-activate differently with your skills that you select. So like maybe for Vendigo, if you do predatory, you know, it'll be slightly different than if Maulwing did predatory.
Right.
But it wouldn't be like unique to each one. The magic trees are all pretty much going to be the same for all three playables, and not for the fourth one.
The fourth one will be a little different.
Yeah. The fourth one is basically like a magic-focused creature.
Yeah, it'll be a lot more, or it'll be more important for them, and they'll get it much sooner as well.
Yeah. What I'm wondering is if we will have species-unique trees and magic for trees. Okay, let's see. Has there been any progression on the boss, which had art made of it a while back? No. So both of the bosses, the Ephemerorph and the Archon, are still about in the same place. They're just in the concept phase. Let's see here. With an AI-focused game like this, less players ain't necessarily a bad thing. Alright, Eve had to leave. Would these bosses be an equivalent to an MMO raid boss? Scores of players banding together to mob the big bad? Basically, yes.
Some of them. Yeah.
Some of them.
Not all of them.
Right, so certain ones you will go to a place and they will have their own, like, arena designed for their mechanics. That's just gonna have to be the way it is for some of them.
Sure.
Others you'll be able to release one way or another onto the main map.
Then it's everybody's problem.
And then it's everybody's problem, yeah. So when that happens, you want to try and band together as much as possible. Even babies may be able to help in some ways. But you are essentially, like, banding together to save your world, to save your existence as you know it.
Yeah.
If the boss wins, the server gets wiped.
Usually.
And if you are able to defeat it, everybody that's alive on the server, you know, especially people that contributed, but everybody that's alive on the server gets big brownie points.
Yeah, you'll get some buffs from specifically, like, killing it and being, like, there to, not, I wouldn't say loot it, but, like, you know, maybe eat it or something like that.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. And then everyone will get a buff for just not dying as well. Or some benefit.
Will the map be akin to an Arc map? It depends on, I guess. There are certain maps in Arc, like Ragnarok. I think most of, like, the modded maps that got turned into, the devs turned into, like, official maps. There's some aspects of the Arc maps that I really like, and some aspects that I don't really like. We are not relegated to, okay, this is where this area has this material and this resource and this, and how do they get here. We're not limited so much by that because you're not going around punching trees when you spawn in our game.
Yeah. No tree. I mean, you can if you want to.
Yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't.
do you, I guess, but but yeah, it's still a little early to say. We know how the map is going to be, like what the layout of the map will be, but we don't really know how it's all going to come together until we start making it. I know this is really far in the future, but are there any plans on community-hosted servers for the game? If there are, would it go through sites like Nodecraft or just dedicated servers? It depends. It seems like the community, we are definitely prioritizing community servers as well, and when we make things like dev commands and stuff like that for the new build, Oz and I have already talked a little bit about certain commands we can put in to make people's lives easier in community servers if they happen to try and open them sooner than later. And honestly, it seems like a lot of communities would prefer hosting sites so that they have a little bit more, options. But that's something that I think Oz just knows so much more about than me, and I'm grateful that we have a couple of communities already in touch with us, and we'll probably learn a lot about what we're going to do for them from them as we go.
Yeah.
Let's see. Please don't count this as drama, but are you aware that Wings of Dawn released a dragon whale that looks like the mantis fin? I did have it. Yeah, so this is actually what I was talking about. There was some crossover in design appearance, and we you know me, I'm not good at conflict, particularly on the internet. And I mentioned it to them after some people mentioned to me that they saw the similarities, and we ended up, better part of an afternoon, we just talked about it and figured out how we could differentiate the two designs. We even offered to change our design a little bit if need be. Didn't end up being necessary. And they changed it a bit. So we're happy. They're happy. It sucks it really sucked for them because they announced it, and then everybody was like, "Hey, whoa, Eidols, what's up with have you seen this? Have you heard about this?" And I was just like, "Whoa, it's neat though." Like I should be mad, but it's neat. But no, it was just like very coincidental crossover design. There was nothing untoward going on, and they changed it for us right away. But honestly, it was like more than that happened. I saw it as like the perfect because we had only been in the council for like a week when that happened, and it was like the first like issue that came up. If ended up not being a huge issue, but it was the first like problem that came up, and everybody came together and handled it so well, and it was like the perfect little like first test of how the council was going to handle stuff like this.
Yeah.
So no drama. I'm glad you brought it up. That was exactly what I was talking about earlier when I was like, we already had an incident, and we were all able to problem solve together. Are there any other creature survival games you're personally looking forward to playing? I am an avid creature survival game searcher.
Searcher.
Yes, I am. Like, I mean it. I am. I'm verbing it. I'm searching it. Every like year or two, I go on Google and I look up like animal survival games, because there's just an itch that gets scratched that you can't get with playing as a human, punching trees for 45 minutes.
I don't know if this one counts as I think it's a survival game. I'm not sure. I have to look more into it, but I really want to check out the Great Cylinder game. That one was cool.
I mean, technically the goal is to survive. It's just, yeah. But that's the glory of the animal survival or non-human survival genres. Like, all of the things that are like staples of the genre, you can just change and mess with, and So yeah, Great Cylinder is one. I played a bit of one recently. It's not an animal survival game, but Dave the Diver.
Oh my God.
That was such a funny game, man. I haven't had time to finish it, but it was so funny. Narda, if you're still watching, you might really like it. The pixel art is definitely take a page out of their book. Dragon games. I really like dragon games. I just feel like a lot of the dragon games that I've tried just don't feel good to play yet. Like, there's a certain balance between, like, making it feel like you're controlling a dragon, but also making you feel like you're good at being a dragon. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's hard to describe. Like, dragons are very unwieldy and, like, beefy, and they have these big wings. So there's not a way to make them feel, like, graceful yet. There's a couple of games, like one recently that had a Chinese long dragon looking one.
That's cool.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. But I saw recently that Beast of Bermuda is working on their like a Titanoboa kind of creature, and how it's like moving across the landscape. If you can get a creature to do that in the air, you got your dragon game. You got yourself a customer. But one of my favorite games of all time is the Spyro game, where you play as Spyro and Cinder, and you like flap your wings manually to fly around the maps and stuff like that. Gotta try and nail that. It's like games where it feels really good to be the thing that's not human.
Yeah, I think we beat that whole game together.
Mm-hmm. I made you play it with me, probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is good. We've got to talk about the pause. We talked about the council. Dawn of the Dragon. Yeah, that was it. Damn, that's my favorite Spyro game, Ilian says.
No.
Nice. Well, guys, I'll take a couple extra minutes just to, like, Sebastian, you can eat your cookies if you want.
Cookies.
Yeah, go ahead. If anybody has any final questions, I'll stick around for a minute. Otherwise, I think we covered pretty much all the bases, and hopefully this video will not be so long that it will be, intimidating for some of the new people to click on and hear kind of what everything's about right now. Yeah, you get... Wow.
I love your cookies.
I'll scroll through and make sure I didn't miss anyone either. Very manageable. I'm very happy that... I revel in every moment that we still only have a few people interacting with us at a time. I don't know if Dimple, but definitely Eve/Narda have been around since the days of, like, warning me that I need to have better moderation and be, less anxious when I talk to people. We had, like, 50 people in the server. They're like, yo, you don't understand. Someday you're going to have, like, 1,000 people in here, and you're going to need to manage that. And I'm like, no, there's never going to be 1,000 people in our Discord. Get out of my face. Are you just taking the cookies apart and putting...
No, they fall apart because you're the mega stuffed, so they don't stay together.
They have mega stuffed.
You didn't read the box?
I'm just sitting here with no shirt on, eating Oreo mega stuffs off your tummy like a sea otter.
Yeah. I'm Elvis. I'm the fat Elvis. Which is the best Elvis, thank you.
Don't call yourself fat, you'll make me feel fat.
I'm not fat.
Alright, well, I think that pretty much covers it. Yeah, I think it was with Fluffy. Oh man, I gotta check in with Fluffy too. Thank you, Dimple. Let's see how he and Suri are doing. Alright, well, I think that's pretty much everything, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you made it all the way to the end, brownie points.
Yep, thank y'all for
Oreo
coming.
mega stuff points.
Oreo mega stuff points. For 1,000 years.
Thank you again, everyone, for being so patient with us, and I will never give up.
We're still here.
We're still here. We're still doing it. All right, guys. Have a good one. Thank you for everything.